Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Well, we're hanging out in beautiful Southern California, just an awesome bike trail, and we're checking out the women's-specific BULLS EVA AMINGA TR2. And the EVA, that talks about the integrated battery design. So you can see that on the men's, or rather unisex frames over here. This is the 650 EVO, so they're kind of doing an O or an A, depending on it's a his or hers, AM4. So the AM4 is talking about all mountain, 4 being kind of higher up than like a 1, 2, or a 3. This one's the EVA TR2, so it's one step up, and it's pretty nicely spec'd. I mean, this is a fun bike. It's full suspension, 120 millimeters of travel, air suspension up front. This is actually an SR Suntour fork, but it's BULLS branded. It's got compression adjust with lockout, as well as rebound there at the bottom, kind of what you'd expect. 15 millimeter thru-axles, so extra sturdy and stiff, and boost, so it's a wider hub spacing, 110 millimeters versus 100. And that gives the spokes a sturdier bracing angle. Quick release, so if you get some flat tire situation, or maybe you just want to take the wheel off to mount it to a roof rack on some cars, you can. Really like that. In the rear, we've got Fox float, and again, both of them 120 millimeters of travel. So this is like a cross-country or light trail electric bike. I really like that they went with the plus-size tires. So these are Schwalbe knobby neck 27.5 by 2.8 versus 2.6, or a little lower, 2.4, whatever. So a little bit wider. That's going to give you a bit more traction, some comfort because there's higher air volume. The surface area on these tires is massive, big knobs, so you can just ride over rocks. You're gonna get less deflection, which is where your tire kind of slips off side to side. You just take it on, go straight for it, and I really like that. I'm a big fan of suspension, especially air suspension, a little bit lighter weight, more highly adjustable. You can sag this if you're someone who doesn't weigh a whole lot and you wanna kind of loosen it a little bit and experience all of that travel. I'm only 135 pounds, so I sort of fit into that spectrum, but the reverse is also true. If you weigh a little bit more, you can put the air, kind of raise that pressure and dial things in. I love that they've got this black anodized coating on both the suspension fork and the rear suspension. It looks nice, but it's also a little bit tougher if rocks hit it or whatever, and it's supposed to slide really efficiently and not have as much stiction. So definitely appreciate that. We've got Magura MT4 and MT5 hydraulic disc brakes. These things are awesome. In the front, the MT5s, they have quad piston calipers. So see how there are those two little circles there? So each one of those is sort of two pistons. So quad pistons, there's 4 180 millimeter disc brake rotor in the front, same as in the rear. And on this one, we just have a dual piston caliper, but it's a little bit bigger. So I think they do that. A lot of the braking force and heat that happens, your body weight sort of shifts forwards a little bit when you're going down a steep hill. So having a bigger rotor helps, but also having like a longer pad, it's gonna make it a little less strenuous to actuate those brake levers. You're not gonna have to pull as hard, way better than mechanical disc brakes to be sure. Both the front and rear are gonna be fairly consistent versus having to pull an actual cable, which can stretch over time, kind of get gunked up, and there's just a longer distance to go to the rear. So the right brake lever is usually for the rear. They do offer adjustable reach, so you can kind of bring them in a little bit. If you want to, maybe you have gloves on, full finger gloves, or you just have a smaller hand. I love that they've got these locking velo grips. We've got trigger shifters up here, 2-way on the high gear. So I love that. And then multi-shift up to 3 clicks on the low gear. That's my preference. If we come over here on the 650 Evo, this one, it's using SRAM, which is really nice. SRAM Eagle, it's got a really wide range of sprockets in the rear. It says 11 to 50, whereas if we come back over here, this is 11 to 42. So the bigger or sort of like low gear, 42 teeth versus 50, it means climbing isn't gonna be quite as easy. You don't have quite as much range, even though these are both 20 mile per hour class 1 electric bikes, meaning that they're allowed on more mountain biking trails. Really nice. 15 tooth sprocket in the front. We've got a nice little alloy guard, so if you're wearing pants or something, like our friend Franklin over here, he's got pants on. You guys can come on over if you want. These guys have been hanging out, friends of friends from the folks at BULLS. I thought it would be fun to get a woman out with us and actually ride this. So I've got some footage to show you guys later. This is Amber. How you doing, Amber?
Hey, I'm great.
This is a really neat experience because I feel like you're definitely stretching your skills, and this is new terrain for you.
Oh yes, this is mountain biked a few times in my life and not mountain e-bike. So this is super cool. And like I was saying before, it kind of allows me to start learning what I'm doing and feeling a bit more comfortable and gaining some confidence.
Yeah.
Then I can enjoy the scenery a bit more.
Well, the smile. I've been seeing the smile the whole time. This is your partner, Franklin. How's it going, buddy?
Good, thanks.
You know, I feel like you and we're sun protected here with our long sleeves, but you must be getting a little hot. I don't know. Does it feel okay?
Amber was just asking me about that. I'm British, so you know, none of this phases us. We just kind of...
Well, and you're riding on turbo the whole time, right? So there's really not...
Right? That helps too.
Don't tell anyone. No, and you know, the jeans and stuff. So this is what I was talking about. Sometimes when you're pedaling, you know, those can kind of get dirty or snagged. So I like that Bulls has gone the extra mile here with this little alloy cover, and it's just a really nice build. You know, we have the integrated battery. The motor is tipped up a little bit. It sort of blends into the frame. I believe this only comes in one color scheme. It's the white gloss with gray and pink accents. I like this a little bit more than the last Aminga I looked at. It sort of had this teal color. I feel like this is just, it's nice. You know, if you end up riding to a trail like we did, we rode through the neighborhoods, and let's say that we're out all day, we had a picnic, it gets dark in the evening, that bike's really going to stand out because of the white. You know, it's a little bit more visible from the side. So I'm always thinking about safety, especially when you're, you know, out and about. Maybe you're in a new place or on a vacation or something. And Bulls has also done a lot in the way of safety. So they have this Monkey Link integration that's so cool. The default is just this little reflector, but you can take it off like this and you get yourself these like wired in lights. So look at this, just clicks right on. That's awesome. And they even have like a fender that goes into the rear. Same thing up front. Oh, actually, how do I get to that? Do my best here, you guys. Kind of magnetic. There it is. There it is. So, you know, it points where you steer. It's really nice. It doesn't clutter your cockpit. They're wired in, so they both run off that main battery. You don't have to worry so much about, you know, disposable batteries. The only negative here is that the light beam points based on the stem configuration. And this is a rather short stem. It's a 0-degree rise. So, you know, the light seems to do all right, but in some cases it could be pointing up or down, and you really can't adjust that beam. So it's a compromise. $170 for that dual light kit. They are made by Supernova, I believe, so they're pretty high quality, kind of nice. And then you can just take them off and put them in your pocket if you're going to get some food or whatever, and you have to lock your bike up. They've also got Monkey-like magnetic water bottle I don't know, adapter right here. You can take this off if you want, and then you've just got traditional little bolt configuration down there. I love that, you know, Bulls they offer this in 2 sizes, but they've also sloped that top tube, really lowering it as much as they could while still giving you that triangle, like that extra frame strength. And Amber and I were talking about this earlier, being able to hop off of the saddle without getting hung up on the frame. How's that felt?
Exactly. Well, it just gives me a little bit of security because I know that I can just hop off if I need to, and I'm not going to hurt myself or damage the bike. So.
Yeah, and we were talking about, it's like, throw away the bike. Like,
right.
Worst case scenario, let the bike go. But these are a little bit heavier, so this is like 54.5 pounds. And part of that just comes back to the motor and the battery. So I'm going to describe the motor here for you. This is the Bosch Performance Line CX. It's the mountain bike specific motor, up to 75 Newton meters of torque. It's measuring your real wheel speed down here with a little magnet and a sensor. It's measuring pedal cadence and pedal torque. All 3 signals over 1,000 times per second. Bosch does a really good job with their sensors. In addition to measuring like how hard you're pushing, how fast you're pedaling, they also track sort of the tension that's going on here from shifting. So if you shift gears, the motor actually tries to ease off for a moment so that the chain and those sprockets don't get worn prematurely, which is really nice. We have a Shimano Derailleur. This is pretty good stuff. It's not Derailleur XT, but Derailleur is still good. And I think earlier I might have said 11, but this is actually a 10 sprockets in the rear. So 11 to 42, 10 sprockets versus 11. So it's slightly limited range there, you know, again, compared to those super high-end bikes, but it's still doing a great job for this kind of riding, cross-country, light trail. And then coming back to the derailleur itself, there's this little gray lever, and if you click it into the up position, it tightens the spring, so you're getting less chain bounce and less slap. That's really nice if you're out on a bumpy section, but Bulls has gone the extra mile again with this little plastic guard from Velo, so you're not going to nick up the frame. Really appreciate that. And then I talked about the front being boost, but the rear is as well. So 148 millimeter hub spacing, and then we've just got a big bolt configuration here. So this is also a thru-axle, 12 millimeter, and they've added a 20 millimeter kickstand provision. So you could add a kickstand. I know a lot of people park these in their garages. Maybe you have a really nice car, you don't want it to tip over. The downside is that while you're riding, you're going to have some chatter with the kickstand bouncing. But if you're really not going too hardcore, maybe you're just doing light stuff like this, where it's, you know, it's relatively flat, not a lot of huge rocks. A kickstand could be nice for all those times when you're parking it inside. You won't have to lean it up against the wall or on a rock, as we've done here. So I do appreciate that. I do want to point out the saddle here. This is 30.9 millimeters, pretty thick, pretty solid, but it was 350 millimeters long. So I sawed it off. I took that off, I cut the bottom off so that Amber could sit a little bit lower. And even with it lower, you're kind of on your tiptoes a little bit while we're riding.
I'm teeny, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of us. Yeah, we were talking about like...
Really? You're kind of average.
Yeah. I think you're great. Whatever this is.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and the cool thing about, you know, riding like this, you talked about being able to hop off if you need to. And then a lot of times the trail's sloped a little bit. So you can put your foot down on the high side or look for a rock and kind of balance that way.
Helps.
It does help. I feel like it's a lot about like learning how to ride and just getting comfortable with the bike. We've got a Bulls banded saddle here, but it's actually from Selle Royale. We've got a slight rise in the handlebar. You know, I feel like the rest of the bike, all the specs are recorded back at the website. We've gone over the motor. I want to give you the specs on the battery. This is a roughly 500 watt hour, 36 volt, 13.4 amp hour lithium ion pack, also from Bosch. They do a really good job with their stuff. 2-year comprehensive warranty. The thing is, the shield is fairly proprietary. You see how it matches the bike? This is Bull's decision here. So they went with an alloy cover. It weighs a little bit more. The battery pack inside weighs roughly 6.3 pounds, but with that cover, again, pretty tough, it's 7.2. So coming back to the 54.5 pounds of this bike is $48.99. So in my opinion, that's priced pretty well. Some of the Bulls bikes end up being pretty expensive, but you've got high-end equipment here that's going to be reliable. It's real. This bike can take it. I mean, we could get out on the trail, and 120 millimeters is still very capable. Franklin, can I get your help real quick?
Sure.
So, you know, maybe if you stabilize the bike for a moment, I just wanted to show what it looks like to get this battery out. Yeah, just kind of make sure it doesn't tip there. So these are ABIS keys, which are really nice, and when they twist this, look at that. The battery sort of clicks out, but not all the way. You have to press this little button in here to get it the rest of the way. So I just wanted to show everyone what this looks like. There's a little charge indicator there. We've got a charging port. It's a proprietary charger from Bosch, 4 amps versus 2 amps on a lot of other e-bikes, 1.7 pounds on that. So you can toss it in your backpack. I'm always, you know, cruising around with a backpack like this. Got some water in there or whatever. Can you help me again, Franklin? I'm gonna try to pop this back in one-handed. It's always a lot of fun. These batteries are awesome because you could take it off and reduce the weight if you're putting this on a bike rack. You can also bring it inside. There we go. If it's like really hot or really cold out, maybe you're parking your bike in the garage. Extreme temperatures are tough on those batteries. I also recommend storing it at about half full if you're not using it for extended periods of time. That way the cells aren't stressed. And that goes for like most lithium ion batteries. And then you'll see the crank arm down here. I can't do it, but if you were pedaling around, this is the charging port for the bike. It's the same configuration. You plug in, but the crank arm passes right by, so be careful so it doesn't snag and then again tip over if you aren't using a kickstand. Just something to be wary of. And there's a little cover here. It doesn't always seat appropriately, and that's why it wasn't completely put in when we started our ride, because I feel, you see what I mean? Like I line it up, I'm pushing, and it just isn't really going. There we go, I finally got it. Okay, so Bulls, I feel like you could do a little bit better there, but they've done a lot great with like this little stanchion guard in the back, alloy. Just the spokes here, these are 13 gauge in the rear, 14 up front. Really nice to have something a little bit tougher like that. So all around, good suspension, plus size tires, boost hub spacing, a nice drive system, and I think now it might be a good time to go into the actual display. So the first step is charge it, get that battery on there, then press the power button. Boots up fairly quickly. And we've got speed in miles per hour, assist level in the middle, and then battery capacity at the bottom. And we've got those monkey links attached, so if I hold the plus button, you see there's a little light icon down there. So you can actually control the lights right from here, which is super nice. Very convenient to have it all built in. Okay, now if I press the plus or minus buttons, I'm gonna get more or less assist. I'm in 0 right now, or off. I go to Eco, that's the lowest, up to EMTB. This one's really cool. We were all kind of using EMTB earlier, and it's a nice drive mode because it responds a little bit more based on torque. It's not just full power. It's like, how hard are you pushing? We'll give you full power if you push hard, but otherwise we're gonna like kind of ease off, and that's really nice to have on a trail when it gets a little more technical down there where it's steeper or there's more rocks. And there we go, there's the top turbo. If I hold minus and tap the power button, it changes from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. I'm gonna take it back. And if I hold the minus button again, it sort of cycles through. So there's total distance, we got range, we got the assist level, which kind of overrides everything. If you press plus or minus, it just shows you the assist level. Trip distance, 9 miles. If I hold plus and minus for a second, it resets, so that's cool. There's a little tip for you. And then we'll get back to range, because I want to show you how that works. Depending on the level of assist you're in, it's going to give you a dynamic estimate. So we're in turbo right now, 27 miles. So I'm saying, 30 miles is probably on the highest level of assist. You could expect to get about that. And on the lowest level of assist, eco, it says 90 miles. I actually estimate 85, but it really depends on, how heavy you are, what the terrain is like, how full your tires are. I mean, there's a lot here. These are tubeless ready, keep that in mind. They also are a little bit wider rims, and that's gonna give you more surface area here, back to those 2.8 plus size tires. Addicts, rubber, this is the new stuff from Schwalbe Evolution line. Apex reinforced for toughness and puncture resistance, and then this snake skin, so it's like this casing, so the sidewalls are a little bit tougher. The pedals are kind of in my opinion. These are cage style aluminum alloy. If the bike tips over, they can kind of get sharp and even bent in a little bit, so they're not my personal favorite. However, they are fairly light. They get the job done. A lot of mountain bikes come with these because people will replace them with their own aftermarket pedals. I like the Wellgo magnesium pedals personally because they're bigger and they have adjustable pins on the top, so you can bring them down or raise them up. Keep in mind, if you slip off of those, you're gonna cut up your shins a little bit. But a lot of people have clipless or clip-in pedals, so just lots of options. I think that's about it, you guys. I'm gonna hop on this bike and do a little ride here. Okay, and you can see that monkey link in the rear. It's got the single LED. I'm just gonna push this bike forward for a second. I like to test on EMTB mode because, again, it is responsive to how hard I pedal. Okay, the saddle is definitely low for me, but I'm gonna try to make this work, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and pedal. There we go. Beautiful. It's working super well. With these hydraulic disc brakes, you can brake with just one hand, no problem. Ride all kinds of terrain. Like, I've actually ridden all the way down to the sea there before, and this bike would handle it just fine. You'd be able to keep up with whoever you're riding with, especially on the downhills. Again, only 20 miles per hour top speed from the motor. Beyond that, though, you can coast. I mean, I've gone like 30 or 40 miles per hour. It's definitely comes down to how comfortable you feel and what the terrain is like and stuff. Do be safe, please, out there. I'm wearing my full face mask today just because I'm filming, so I add the camera there at times. This time I'm going to climb. One thing I want to mention here about the motor is that it uses a reduction gearing system, so that sprocket spins at 2.5 revolutions for every single crank revolution. It's sort of proprietary to Bosch. It gives you good chain grab, and also I think it's pretty fast, and it gives the motor a mechanical advantage. But there is a little bit of drag in that spinning process, okay? So if you're pedaling unassisted, you're gonna be doing a little bit extra work, or if you're pedaling above 20 miles per hour, there's a little bit more work happening. But again, it coasts, it freewheels flawlessly. There's no resistance that way. Feels pretty comfortable, no hands over all these rocks. It's nice because of those plus size tires. Oh boy. It just gives you a lot of stability and control. Again, I'm a big fan of that, but you can't do it with every bike. It really comes back to, is the hub spacing going to allow you to do that? Does the fork have enough spacing there? Okay guys, from here you can see that 15-tooth sprocket with that nice alloy guard. We got the chain. I have heard some people in Europe, in Britain, where it's kind of rainy and muddy sometimes, talk about chain suck. That can be an issue. I haven't experienced that so much, but I want to be completely fair here. There is some movement on the rear suspension, but it's multi-link here, so it travels up and down fairly consistently, and it brakes fairly well as well. It's it's the kind of shock that you've got 3 different positions, so you can do climb, trail, descend. I definitely recommend sort of adjusting that depending on where you're at on the trail. 11 to 42 teeth in the rear with those 10 sprockets. Let's give it a go. And listen for the motor. You can tell that at the higher RPM, there's a little bit more whining. That's just name of the game with these like geared mid motors. Most of them do produce a bit more noise. This one supports up to 120 RPM though, so you can pedal quickly. Let's say you're going down a hill and you're in a high gear, and you're about to ascend, you're about to go up a hill, you can shift down to a low gear and spin faster without losing motor support up to 120 RPM. That's a big deal for me personally, and Bosch does a good job at that. Perfect. Taking advantage of those nice hydraulic disc brakes. Oh, she's taken off. My bike went off earlier. There we go. We got the power back. You doing all right, Franklin? Oh no. I got into turbo mode there. My bike timed out, so I was pedaling like without assist.
Oh my God.
You really notice the difference once you get it back. Actually, we should go back up and along that trail.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Good job.
Where?
Nice. Great handling.
So up to the right?
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity to show you guys walk mode. Okay, so it looks like it's turned off right now. Oh. So if we turn it back on and then we go up to eco, then we go walk mode down here and then hold it.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
Nice.
Look at that. This is so handy when you get to those sections of trail that are like not rideable or you get a flat tire. So these bikes weigh like 50 plus pounds. Poor Franklin's got the jeans and the long sleeve shirt. Oh. Nice.
Okay.
Look at that. Good job.
So it's up here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what we want to do is probably start from here. It's nice and kind of take a run at it, but you're gonna have to start climbing. So I usually pedal backwards like this for a second, get my pedal into the ready position, kick off, and then just start pedaling. There you go. You got it. If you just keep on pedaling to the flat parts, we'll meet you. Oh, you got to shift down. You're in a high gear. Oh, good job. Good job putting your foot down on the high side.
Woo!
Yes, you made it halfway. That's great. Okay. There you go. Now you got it. I see the smiles. Hey,
beautiful.
Made it.
So cool.
I think this would be a good spot to just do a little talk.
Okay.
Thank you. Congrats.
No problem. Thank you. Should I stay on or do we put it down?
Oh, it's good. We'll just get Franklin up here and then you guys can find some shade.
Nice.
While we've got it rolling, are there any questions that come to mind just as you were riding or things?
I'm learning. I mean, I'm learning how to shift,
Mm-hmm.
how to brake,
Yeah.
how to kind of control everything, what mode. I love the walk mode.
Yeah, yeah.
That's super cool. I like the turbo mode. So for me, it's just like about gaining confidence because it does some of the work for me, so I can actually then focus on just my skills.
Were you surprised like how well it climbed, or did it feel?
Totally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
EMTB mode, turbo mode, what'd you do?
On this high hill, I did turbo.
Yeah.
But for the most, I've done EMTB. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. This is awesome.
It's awesome. It totally is.
Nice. Feeling pretty comfortable on the pavement, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is like nothing.
She was saying her riding skills really like went up a notch just from this little ride today.
I totally feel it. Thank you.
Look at this. So much fun, these guys. Oh, it's been a great time. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got all the specs and stuff back at the website. I'll see you guys there, ElectricBikeReview.com. If you have any questions or feedback, you can share that in the comments. I always appreciate that and I do my best to answer. Have fun out there, love each other, ride safe.